I mean, what do
If
you
you're
think
saying
about this
nature tends to simplify or generate certain patterns of behavior. Nature does generate certain patterns of behavior. The ability to extract that which is significant and less significant is not common. And that's where science and semantics comes in. It gives you more of an ability to extract from nature that which is significant.
Yes.
And that's what is lacking in the world. The ability to select. The brain doesn't have that, only experience. If you touch a certain plant, your fingers itch for 3 days, you memorize the pattern of that plant because you have a reason to. And you say to other people, stay away from that plant. Where do you get it? You got burned by it. Now, some people might say, I wonder if that plant's good for anything, and they might try different things with it. And after a year's study, they can't find anything. But somebody else finds out that that plant that itches kills the malaria mosquito. That's later.
Was it Jacque Fresco who said pollution is just something that people haven't worked out what it's useful for yet? I think it was Jacque Fresco who
Well,
said something.
I think I know how he means that. And I would ask him if he worked it out. And if he said no, then I said, why do you bring it up? Do you know what I mean? A guy says, there's too much noise in this city. Do you have a noise abatement system? I said, no. Are you working on it? No. Then I'm not interested. Is that? A noise abatement is some method of eliminating noise. And I think otherwise they're just complaining. It's too bad there's so many airplane crashes this year. What do you suggest? I don't know, then shut up. Is that clear?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, everybody's really interested in what I'm talking about. They understand it. I don't say anything to hurt people. I say things to make them aware of how little they contribute. And the question is, if people came from another world, say they worked out lots of technology, but they can fly through light years of time, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think I'd talk to them. I think I might say, what do you think I ought to know? Tell me what I ought to know. I would not say, well, you made a long trip. That's very good. You guys must be very advanced. I'm not saying anything they can use. If I say, what do you think I ought to know? They say, your brain is too small to harbor that. Thank you, I would say. You know. So people don't know what is significant. If they meet Einstein, they say, gee, can I have your autograph? But they wouldn't say, what do you think I ought to know to help me think as well as you?
But if you met yourself in the future,
What?
if you met yourself in the future, if I met myself in the future and that person was 50 years older than me, I'd ask them, what do I need to know so that I can...
I know that I wasted a lot of time to get to the future. So I try to give kids information without waiting for them to bang their head against all the obstacles. I write a book saying how to move in the future with less pain.
That's a good book.
I haven't even written it yet because it wouldn't sell unless you're very well known. You got to remember that if you develop tools before the new engine is made, no one will buy those tools unless they fit the new engine. So people make conventional tools, mostly, not all people. Those that don't are called inventors. And then even if the inventor made a new vacuum cleaner, he still has to show it to people. And the guy says, gee, that's a great vacuum cleaner. How much is it? That's the next. $5,000. Well, I'd rather buy a vacuum cleaner for $40. Because they're talking about their range. But if you have $100 million So you say, I'll take 2. What determines what you say? Your position
Yes.
and the money you have.
Yes.
So I would say, if I had to use language, all behavior is forced by background.
Yes.
When you get thirsty, you drink.
Yes.
That's forced by thirst. When you get hungry, you go to a restaurant. That's forced by hunger. But the higher the level of hunger, the more sniffing food you'll be doing. You know what I mean? What you pay attention to has to do with your needs. If you haven't eaten for 3 days, you will smell food faster than Roxanne. She just had a big meal.
Similarly, if you had a certain experience, like you grew up in an orphanage, you would possibly have certain things in your characteristics that would, when you bring up your kids, you would try to not have them go through the same thing.
No, I would experiment with the kids,
Okay.
see what I can do. But I don't know that it's better until they react. I'll try to reach them. If they don't react, I'll try different systems. And when I find the one that works, and I meet new kids, they may not react to the system that worked on the other kids.
How important is it for groups of people to, in your mind, to think completely differently to the other one? Because I mean, it's quite important for everybody to think differently.
I don't think it is.
Don't you think so?
No, correctly, not differently.
Because
appropriately. But do you know what that means? Thinking appropriately.
yes.
If you live on this world and you can tell me all about another planet, I'm not interested. It is not appropriate. It's not appropriate for you to tell me there are particles beyond the electron if I don't have any need for that. I don't hear it. Do you know what I mean?
I think I know what you mean. A lot of information is
how we relate to the earth and one another.
Now, to me, that's intelligence.
And maintain.
Is working out what is relevant and what's not relevant.
Yes, that's what we have to do. What is relevant to human beings at this time? Not 100 years from now. That would be different. What is relevant? In other words, if you go to another world, you want a guy to tell you what you can't eat, what's poisonous. First, those are important things. And if there's no oxygen, he says, very little. He says, you'll only live 3 months unless you blow down. Get out of here. That's the information you want. People don't know what they want. They can't. There was some scientist that wrote a book called Don't Ask People What They Want, Tell Them What They Ought to Want. The Indian says he wants the blessing of the High Father that has ascended into heaven. That's not deliverable. The things he asks for are irrelevant. What the Indian wants, he doesn't know, to maintain the best of health and the widest, better understanding of the world around him. So when you say some people are scientists, some are not, they don't know what they're talking about. Everybody is scientific, and they use the best tools they have.
Yes.
But that they may not be adequate. That's a problem. So people say, I like intelligent people. And you say, well, who's intelligent? My uncle, he made $40,000 this month. Well, his standards of what is intelligent is different than yours. You understand? The word intelligent could mean different things in different contexts. So that's why our language is so terrible. It doesn't have common meaning.
Just close up. Because I always thought reading as many books as possible was the right thing to do. And
I would
I
say
read lots of junk, lots of
not as many as possible. As many are relevant to your background that you can understand.
Yes.
You can pick up a book on celestial mechanics, certain forms of mathematics,
And I have.
which you can't understand or
Yes.
can. But if you don't use it in your life, it would be superfluous to your needs. If she could name every island in the South Pacific, it's not superfluous to her needs. I'd rather she named the food she needed to maintain good vision and health. There is lots of information out there, but a lot of it is superfluous to your need. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
I know a person that can name every crater on the moon.
Yes.
To me, that's superfluous, unless he's planning a journey to the moon.
Yes, you're right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes. Well, when I was younger, I memorised all the Latin names of all the fish because I used to go deep sea fishing with my dad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very.
I understand.
It's not very useful to me now. Yes, no, you're right. I'm going to just change it to one I need to. But is there anything that you wanna cover? Or?
Those are very important points. Studying things superfluous to your need.
Yes.
Now, if you become too advanced, you may have minimum contact with normal people. You will lose your contact because they wouldn't be interested in you or the things you talk about because they go past people.